After years of waiting, Eren and his comrades finally make it into the mysterious basement of his childhood home. And to be perfectly honest with you guys, I'm kind of disappointed. I expected Grisha's basement to be way more of a man cave. No arcade cabinets, no beer tap, and no pool table. Only 3 books which are supposedly going to give us all of the answers to the entire Attack on Titan universe. Hello my friends and welcome to another review of the Attack on Titan anime series. And this is certainly an eye-opening episode. Sure, there's still a lot of mystery, but the pieces of the puzzle are finally starting to come together. This is a pretty crucial episode that you do not want to miss. Ever since the very beginning of the series, we had that one moment where Eren's father Grisha gave him that mysterious key which was going to lead them into the basement, which would supposedly give them the answers and the truths to this very world itself. But before we get there, we get to see what happens with Armin, realizing that he's actually eaten Bertholdt and has now taken the power of the Colossal Titan for himself, as well as the burden of being the commander of all the entire Survey Corps. He's basically the new Erwin. I mean, he's not as badass, but at least he can transform into a giant destructive monster. In fact, I really love how the episode actually opened up. He had this vision in his mind of seeing the Colossal Titan before him. Half of its face the way we traditionally see it, and the other half a creepy skeleton, as it sheds a tear. A perfect representation of Armin's personality, if I do say so myself. But most of the drama from the scene came from the fact that Armin realizes that he should be dead. There's no way that he should have been the one to inherit all of these responsibilities, and yet he's still going to take them on himself. I did like the fact that Levi was very blunt with him. He's like, well, Erwin probably should have gotten these abilities, but, you know, your 2 friends were giving me a hard time. Mikasa put a freaking sword to my neck, so what choice did I have? Also, of course, this was all Erwin's decision in order to entrust everything to the future of these young children. What was really stark about this scene, however, is that they reminded us that of all of the people who went to this massive mission to take back the walls, there's only 9 of them left. That's right. Pretty much everybody else was completely wiped out, and pretty much just like the main cast and that one dude who helped out Erwin are pretty much the only ones who actually managed to survive this massive battle, so that's really insane. The rest of the episode follows the characters as they make their way to Eren's old house and making their way to the basement. This was a very nostalgic scene, as you got to see the characters walking through the streets, reminiscing about all of the memories they had while living here, as well as reliving that horrible day that changed their lives forever. The day that the Titans tore down the walls. It was just a really great reminder of the series and gave me a lot of great memories and flashbacks of some of the craziest moments from the franchise when suddenly they finally make their way to the secret door which leads them to the basement. And as if they didn't have enough trouble already, the freaking key does not work. But to be perfectly honest, is the key even really necessary? I mean, we've already seen that these characters are capable of taking down giant monsters with just swords. I mean, they can just kick doors down. And that's exactly what Levi does as they make their way into Grisha's secret laboratory, where they don't really find anything at first, just a bunch of books and random objects. That is until they discover a keyhole on the desk, which is actually where this key actually belongs to, and in that is a drawer with another secret underneath it, a false floor, if you will, and they're able to find these 3 books, which are supposedly going to house all of the secrets of this world, but the first thing that they end up seeing is a photograph. And what's really important about this scene is that photographs don't exist in the world of Attack on Titan, or at least where Eren and his friends grew up. To them, a photograph is a foreign concept. All they know are paintings and sketches. They don't even know the concept of a camera, but apparently they do exist in this world, and so does a lot of other technology. And that's where we get this big segue, which goes into a big post-credit scene at the very end of the episode, where we get to learn that Grisha is actually from a faraway land where the technology is significantly more advanced, where people live in the laps of luxury, if you will, where technology such as airships, blimps, zeppelins actually exist. This mysterious land is where Grisha grew up with his younger sister Faye, as they themselves also dreamed of a life outside the walls, although they were very different than the ones that we actually see here. It seems like people here are a little more comfortable and don't have to worry about being eaten by giant zombie monsters. But still, the implication is that he's from some sort of other land, which could very well harbor the very secrets of the Titans, their origins, where they come from, and hopefully this will all explain how he got to where he is today. But of course, one of the biggest things about this episode is that photograph itself. It actually does have Grisha in it, and he seems to be an adult, but he actually has another wife and another child. And I have a personal theory here, which is almost certainly going to be correct, and I'm guessing it's that young kid that's actually in that photograph is none other than Zeke the Beast Titan himself. A lot of people have been telling me that there's big connections between Zeke and Eren, and I can actually kind of see it now. I think there is a possibility that somehow these two characters are related. I don't know how it actually happened or why he decided to come to this land and start a new family. It's still all quite mysterious, but the fact that we're now being introduced to a brand new colony of humans, which exist in practically a completely different timeline in terms of its technology, is pretty freaking intriguing. I can't wait to see what's next. So, what's the rundown on this episode of Attack on Titan? Finally, we're getting some freaking answers. It only took like, 5-6 years to actually get them? It is kind of long-winded and having to wait for this actual answer, and I have to say, as someone who only watches the anime version, man, was it excruciating. And it didn't exactly pay off in the biggest of spectacles. I mean, they basically found 3 books with a picture in it, but these books are probably going to be very important, and it looks like they're all going to segue into Grisha's backstory, and that could potentially tie into how everything goes down the way that it actually is now. This is some really important material that you do not want to miss if you're a fan of the series. Overall, however, this was a very simple episode, basically 2 parts. Armin accepting the fact that he's the brand new commander and has the Colossal Titan, and Eren and their friends going into Grisha's basement. That's about it. But it's the type of episode that while you're watching, you tend to reflect on the entire series and how many battles and struggles and deaths it actually took to actually get to this moment. And this is in many ways going to be sort of like a turning point for the rest of the series. It only took 56 episodes to do it. That being said, I still really enjoyed this episode, and I can't wait to learn a little bit more about Grisha's backstory, his connection to Zeke, possibly. Like I said, I think that's his son in the photograph. At least that's what I'm going by. Which would mean, of course, that Zeke and Eren are technically brothers. Half-brothers, but brothers nonetheless. I'm curious to see what sort of life he had previous with this other family that has never been spoken of before, and I wonder why he never actually had an opportunity to return to them. Again, that's all speculation on my part. For all I know, that older gentleman actually was Zeke, and that's just some other random kid, but I have a feeling it's Grisha. They look almost identical to one another, and even the kid's hairstyle actually looks kind of similar to Zeke's, minus, of course, the gnarly beard and glasses. But, we'll just have to see what's next. Otherwise, I thought this was a solid addition to the series, which is finally giving us some really big answers, but again, giving us a lot of questions. And that's what Attack on Titan is all about. So, I'm going to give this episode a 4 out of 5. I thought it was a little slow, but for the most part, we got some really big answers. And again, even though we're about to get this backstory, I'm still pumped to see what Armin's going to do when he transforms into the Colossal Titan for the first time. We got a little bit of a tease of it in this episode, but I can't wait to see the moment where he finally transforms and goes on a rampage. Watching him team up with Eren, I think, is going to be incredibly badass. But we'll just have to wait and see that happen. Otherwise, like I said, 4 out of 5 from me. I'd love to get your thoughts about this episode. You can tell me all of them in the comment section below, and what you hope to see from the rest of Attack on Titan. What do you think is in those 3 books? How is it going to connect to the actual answers of this world? Is that young kid in the picture actually Zeke? What's the deal with Grisha? Let's have a discussion about this episode. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for more anime reviews, topics, reactions, all types of cool stuff. And if you want to help support the channel, please check out my Patreon and PayPal account. It's one of the best ways to support this channel, and a little bit goes a long way. In fact, if you guys actually donate more than $10 on my Patreon, I'll review an anime series of your choice. So thank you all for watching this video. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.